So, we're back talking about Prey. The last video covered the story and some discussions about different topics like its weapons, a few Easter eggs, and theories. This video will cover a few more things I left out, which I'll get into right away, but also some more background information from recent interviews with Dan Trachtenberg. There's a lot of topics to go over, so I will leave chapters available, but here's a few things we cover. They gave the reason they used CGI in some scenes, some information on the skull mask, the limited armor on the Predator, how the composer was selected for the music, some inspiration they took from a Predator video game, and why they included the dog into the movie. And of course, I'll go into some theories so we can have some discussions about these topics. Stay tuned until the end to see a message given by one of the stars from the first Predator movie. He left his opinion about the Prey movie. Alright, here we go. When Naru gets out of the mud pit, it reminded me of Dutch being covered with mud and hiding from the Predator. You could say these two movies share a similar scene, so it could be another throwback to the original movie. About connecting Naru from Prey to Billy's soul in the first Predator movie, Billy is from the Sioux tribe and Naru is Comanche. Even though they are in different tribes, I'm sure they can fix that and still make a link between the two somehow. Maybe at some point the tribes could join together or something. Now, Big Beard cuts Tabe's chest like Billy in Predator. You could say that's a possible Easter egg. There's also the medicine pouch both Naru and Billy have around their neck. Seeing as how Naru was learning about medicine using plants, this is a common thing in Native American culture. Some could have actual medicine, others would have items for spiritual or supernatural powers. The script to the first movie was revised a couple of times, but the final version does say it's a medicine bag talisman. When Billy senses something in the trees, the other men stay behind him. The script says this: Schaefer signals for Mac to cover him and then moves low and quiet towards Billy. Dylan appears, looking to Mac for an explanation. Mac ignores him, concentrating on the jungle. Dylan looks forward at Billy, his eyes riveted to the canopy above as he unconsciously reaches to his throat. Grasping a leather pouch secured to his neck by a thong, he fingers the medicine bag talisman. Dan Trachtenberg and Jane Myers had a video interview with Nerdist, and Dan said this about the connection between Naru and Billy's soul. We don't want to definitively say that this movie are Billy's ancestors. That's kind of like saying, for now, this movie is about Naru, but later on, the opportunity to make that connection is there. He then brings up something about the skull mask on the Predator. He wanted this thing to feel so much more feral and primal. Dan says this: The Predator has always been portrayed obviously as a trophy hunter, and it made so much sense for it to feel like it's wearing that trophy, and I've always been smitten with the idea of aliens that are infused biology and technology, that it's sort of the biotech thing, so I love the idea that the mask represents that immediately. As for the feral Predator still using the spear gun without the biomask, in the first scenario, he was aiming at the dog Sari, but after the mask was knocked off his face by Tabe, the lasers were still aiming at a tree. Perhaps the impact of getting hit by Tabe made him temporarily confused and forgetful of the lasers already locked onto something else like the tree. He still could have tried to use it hoping the shot would hit his new target, which was Tabe, before it curved around, but it did not work out that way. I still think the spear gun should be used while it's invisible, because during this scene, it was way too vulnerable for that kind of weapon. The spear gun has what looks like a trigger, as you can see here underneath. There's also these white lights on the spear gun. They light up one after another. I think this could be a timer to when it can be shot, or possibly if it can auto shoot. The lasers are then activated. Then the spear itself is loaded to the top of the weapon. So there really is a long delay before the projectile is fired. This gives the prey more time to react to the incoming attack. Therefore, this weapon could be in the category of being a fair weapon to use. All three lasers can target one area. then the shots will fire in one central location. But it's also shown that each laser can target a different area, as it was shown when Wasapi got taken down with a spear gun. The 3 lasers went to different parts of his body, and all 3 were fired one after another. As for the other scene like this, which was at the end, after suffering a gunshot to the back of the head, some fans have said that could have made him forget, or there was still some kind of trauma setting in that was left from that injury. But why would it only affect him using the spear gun and not every other attack he used on Naru, like the attacks with the spear weapon, the shield, and jumping through the trees to then lunging forward at Naru? I think in this situation, he just assumed his biomask was destroyed or could not be found, so he tried to use the spear gun without the lasers, but noticed the biomask was right there, but it was a bit too late. Naru had some idea about the spear gun weapon during the time 3 other Comanche warriors got killed in front of her. It was during the scene with Tabe that gave her more understanding of how the spear gun works with the lasers on the biomask, which is why she placed it to the side of the mud pit in the final battle scene. She already expected the Predator to use this weapon at some point. She just needed to get him into the mud pit. The face of the feral Predator is a new design, but it does look like some of it can resemble a super predator in a way. Dan did say it was a different breed of predator. I really don't mind trying something new, but yeah, it's ugly like all the others. I mean, it's supposed to be ugly. Okay, let's move on. When Tabe dies by the feral predator, it's a similar scene as how Dylan died in the first movie back in 1987, while Tabe gets stabbed in the back and Dylan is stabbed in the front. Both are from an invisible predator using the wrist blades and being held up into the air. There's an extended scene after the ending. It shows Naru and her people looking up at the sky as 3 more predator ships are descending. Some of you in the comment section have said this could be a recovery team, the ones that just want their technology and the body of feral returned to them, so humans don't keep the body and technology. That's also a possible answer, which does make sense. Naru could give the pistol to Greyback during this time. They don't necessarily have to fight, but a way to keep the peace between them for now so they don't go to war. Gifting the pistol would be a way for them to carry the memory of the brave warrior that defeated feral predator, and Greyback could hold onto it and give it to Mike Harrigan in Predator 2. Some fans have said the man that gives Naru the pistol is not really Raphael, but it's someone else who had his pistol which belonged to the real Raphael. However, the credits show that there is a character named Raphael, but no last name is given. I think it's safe to assume this Raphael is the man who owned this pistol and his full name is engraved on it. Let's talk about the limited armor on the feral predator. It's possible it was a young hunter with not much experience as the others. It was this predator's first time on Earth, so perhaps this could have been part of its initiation or rite of passage, as some might say. If you can prove to the others that you can take on a few humans and a few animals, we will give you more gear, armor, and weapons. And then your status within the ranks would rise. This predator was very durable and persistent, but also made a bunch of mistakes. During a video interview with Red Carpet News TV, Dan said this about the limited armor on the feral predator. Because we wanted it to be much more alien and creature-like being, we stripped it of its armor, but to protect himself, it now has a shield. And the way that shield unfurls is very advanced, even though it's seemingly more archaic weapon or tool. There is a reason why they used CGI in the film. They were trying to heavily rely on the suit, but that limited some ideas they had in mind. When they allowed CG to take over in some scenes, it really helped make their thing feel like it hasn't before and be an awesome alien creature. Dan Trachtenberg said this during another interview. I wanted to play up the iconic movie monster's alien qualities, which meant streamlining its armor and emphasizing its weaponry. I wanted it to feel much more like an alien creature than ever before, much more feral, ferocious, primal, and be less armored. So then, all the technological advances needed to be through its arsenal, through its weaponry. As for the creature's new design, he said these things from various interviews. I wanted to change it more than it's ever been changed before, so it could be a new sight, a new thrill, even for die-hard fans of the franchise. I think we struck the right balance, and then we had a team of incredible visual effects artists that helped augment the suit, so that in key moments, it could always feel like a living, breathing thing, so that it never felt like it was limited by movie physics. That it can always feel the way it should feel, like as an alien creature. I wanted the Predator to be scarier than we've seen it before. It's intelligent and it has advanced technology, and that makes it even more difficult to take on. But because the movie is set 300 years in the past, those things need to feel a little bit older than we've seen them before, but also still far more advanced than what we think our Earthlings would be able to handle. I wanted to make sure the head was more proportional to the body. This Predator is much slimmer and less armored than it's ever been. It's more creature. It's still hulking and ferocious. As for why the feral predator has a skull on its mask, there is an answer to that question. Through an interview with GamesRadar.com, Dan said this: "You mentioned the skull mask. That was one of the earliest ideas. We wanted to suggest that our creature was much more ferocious. It's a little bit stripped down, but still embraces the code that we know a predator to hunt by. It's a trophy hunter. We just thought, wouldn't it be cool if it wears its trophy on its face rather than just on its hip? I think we happened upon something very exciting, though, and that's why we kept the mandibles exposed, which are so iconically Predator, and it allowed us to still be engaged with the emotionality of the Predator even while it was masked, which is something that the other films never got a chance to do. So yeah, I love designing this creature." He does not mention what prey this skull belonged to, but it does share some similarities to the River Ghost from Predators in 2010, and also the original Predator suit before Stan Winston was brought on board to give it mandibles and dreadlocks. But if we ever get an answer to this question, I will make a video about it. There's some information about why they added Sorry the dog to tag along with Naru in this story. Dan says this during the same interview: "The writer, Patrick Eisen, and I were very inspired by Fury Road, and Road Warrior is one of my favorite movies as well. And I love the image of Mad Max and dog, and love the dog in that film, and love that idea. We knew that so much of the movie was just going to be Amber out there on her own. We wanted to give her a little buddy, but we did not realize that it would be so challenging to work with such a joyful and spirited little animal on set." Another interview on BloodyDisgusting.com brings up other topics about the film. One of them is how he almost did not include Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr. They have been part of the Predator franchise since the first movie. He said this: "Honestly, I did think before I met with Tom and Alec, and I was like, maybe we should have a young new company that has never done Predator before, that would feel like they could throw down and have something to prove, because I love giving people a start. But then I met with Tom and Alec, and they were undeniably charming, and we've talked a lot about what they had always felt, maybe a little handcuffed by in previous entries in the franchise, and how excited they would be to do something special with this. They are just wonderful people to be around. I've loved so much of their work and all the movies I've watched growing up that I could not help but say yes to them. I think they did go above and beyond in creating something better than anything they've ever done before, and certainly in the Predator franchise. Even as far as just movie creatures go, it's just an awesome movie creature." As for the music in the movie, well, Dan said this on Twitter: "When we were prepping the movie in Calgary, I was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla and was like, well, this music is insanely beautiful. Who did this? The answer is Sarah Schachner. You'll be listening to her lots in the future, I promise." Through an interview on BloodyDisgusting.com, he also said this about the music: "I'm so glad you bring this up, because one of my favorite things about this movie is that we have such a beautiful score. It's funny because we started out tempting the movie with a lot of Sicario, and many of my conversations early on with Sarah were oriented toward making things atmospheric, moody, and drony. a lot of what is in the contemporary movie scores. Then, as we continued in the process, the movie started demanding that it have something different. The fact that we now have, I think, a great old-fashioned epic adventure score mixed with some of the other more atmospheric things and a rehashing of the Predator theme used for the Predator itself, which is like the Predator now sonically announcing, Predator movie is coming. Predator movie is coming. I think it's absolutely tremendous. I'm so glad that we evolved the way that we did. Now I have a score to a movie that, as a kid, I would be listening to over and over and over again on its own, separate from the movie. I think it's actually beautiful music. If you want to listen to the music from the film, the Prey soundtrack is available on Amazon, iTunes, and Spotify. Since we're talking about video game inspirations, I found this from a video interview with Any Good Films. Dan mentions he took some inspiration from the video game Predator Hunting Grounds. He says this: "Some of the movements that you see in the movie were taken from the video game. Predator Hunting Grounds is a game that we were all playing while we were developing the movie. While we were pre-visiting the movie, Fridays were devoted for us all to get together and hunt each other down. And there's some Predator movements in that game that were never quite featured in the films that I thought were so cool, and so we put those in the movie as well." And the last thing I want to include is a tweet from Jesse Ventura himself. He made a tweet about the Prey movie. Here's what he said: "Prey movie. Great film. Amber Midthunder, you definitely ain't got time to bleed. Welcome to the Predator family. Danny Trachtenberg, thank you for making such a thoughtful, creative, and wonderful film." So the Predator can be thrown into many time periods. It's been done before in the comic books many times. Now, which time period do you want for a Predator film? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for watching. Please leave a like on the video and subscribe for more content like this in the future. I'll see you next time.